just can't live without you. No, nowhere. Ooh. Now many men will try to tell you bad things about me. Oh baby, let them try. I know one day their lust will die, and there will be no cause or reason for you to doubt me. Cause what I feel is real. The love that I have is yours, signed and sealed. Now I'm building my whole wide world around you. But baby, here's my request from you. Baby, don't take my kindness for weakness. Please don't take my sweetness for weakness. No, baby, don't take my kindness for weakness. No, no, baby. Cause our future depends on you, and no one else.
Please stand for the Honorable Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar. We say, I just want to say thank you all. And just say thanks to Cherise. I understand she's a young law student. So let's thank her very much and congratulate her from your own community. Thank you, Cherise. Thank you. La Horquetta, Talparo, good night to all of you. UNC family, good night. It is good to be here in Brazil. The first time I came to Brazil was way back in the year 2000. And you know why I came in 2000? I was then the Minister of Education. And we came to check out this site, to build this school. When you walk in, when you walk through, you will see this plaque. Can you see the screens? It says, in commemoration of the official opening of the Brazil High School by the Honorable Basde Pandey, MP, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar, that's me, Minister of Education. September 25th, 2000. This was one of many schools that we built throughout Trinidad and Tobago, because we strongly believe that education is a passport, that education is a key to come out of poverty. And so we built all these schools to make sure that every child who wrote what was then called the Common Entrance, which I changed and we got a new exam known as the CSEA, the assessment, that everyone coming out of the primary school would have a place in a secondary school. That was way back in 2000. You know, I see so many new faces here tonight. You know what I'm very happy about to notice most of all? The number of young people who are here. Let's give the young people a round of applause. The young people. And let's give the not so young people a round of applause too. And I wouldn't tell you in which category I belong, because I'm forever young in my heart. Forever. You see the energy here tonight, the vibrancy here tonight, reminds me of the assembly we had just 2 weeks ago. Some of you were there. The Assembly, National Assembly, we felt that energy there and vibrancy, that we know our party is on the right side of history. We are on the right side of history. And so I ask you, stand up, step up, join us. Do not fall on the wrong side of history in this round as we go forward. So Here we are, we're working very hard on the ground, moving forward, and I know that you all are very happy and excited to be part of this plan as we go forward. Now, never before in the history of our country have we seen a government that is so incompetent, totally wicked and incompetent. Never have we seen a prime minister who is more interested in playing golf than in running the country. Never before have we seen the senseless destruction of every part of government structures and systems, government services. We are entering now the 5th month of the 4th year, so they're in their second to last year in office. And nothing is working in Trinidad and Tobago. National security is in shambles. Healthcare is a disaster. Economy collapsing. Education failing our children. Well, don't talk about flood relief. There are people from the last floods and the ones before who still have not received compensation from government. Any Greenvale residents here? Any Greenvale residents here tonight? I want to make a pledge to the people of Greenvale. When you work with us and put us back into office, we will deal with the problems in Greenvale. We will not abandon you. We will not abandon you. You know the only ministry working in this government? I'll give you a guess. I'll give you 3 guesses and the answer will be the same. Blame Kamla, blame Kamla, blame Kamla. That is the narrative for the last, going into 4 years of this government. Blame Kamla, blame Kamla. And the hardest working ministry, that's the only ministry working in the blame Kamla ministry. Yes, that's the only one. Because nothing else is working. And that, I say, is the hardest working ministry because they work in 24 hours non-stop. Blame Kamla, blame the UNC, blame Kamla, blame the UNC. Well, look, I will take blame for this. Look at your screens, please.
Between 2010 and 2015, whatever was done there in terms of job creation, approximately 41,000 jobs were created. Between 2015 and 2017, the number of people with jobs fell from 623 to 602. That means about 20,000 jobs were lost.
There is a highly educated and skilled workforce in place. They just need jobs. Some of the industries we can target are as follows: food processing and packaging, manufacture of basic medical supplies and disposables, manufacture of medical furniture, beds, trolleys, chairs, e-waste recycling. How can we do it? You know how? The first thing we would do is to lower taxes.
The UNC will lower corporation tax to a minimum of 18 to 20% over the next 5 years. Overtaxation of businesses, especially small and medium-sized, slows growth, strangles innovation, and kills entrepreneurship. Reducing the cost of doing business is directly linked to creating the jobs you need. By doing this and more, we will get TNT working again. So, in his own words, the Prime Minister admitted that we created, in the 5 years we were there, we created, he said 40, but it's really 55,000 new jobs. New jobs. He has admitted since he came into office, and those numbers are only up to 2017. He didn't give the numbers for 2018. He gave those numbers in his mini-series, where he had 2 nights on TV talking for a couple of hours. That's when his words, he said, 20,000 jobs lost. So no new jobs being created, people losing their jobs, and I will tell you, it's not 20,000. I think Anita gave you a figure. It's far more than 20,000 jobs that have been lost since this government came into office. And they say what? Blame Kamla for that, but I am not taking blame for loss of jobs. We created jobs. We created 55,000 jobs. And I tell you, when you put us back into office, we have the plans to create jobs, and to create more jobs for all of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, I want to share something with you tonight. I ask you to bear with me. And do not judge me until I am finished speaking on this topic. Over the past few months, I have seen the Rowley government reverting to use race to campaign. Now, this is a topic people don't like to speak about, but we have to confront it head on, and I'm going to do that in your presence tonight. For the first time, take on this issue head on. Recently, I saw reported that a police officer made some bad remarks, derogatory remarks about Indo-Chinese. Then I saw some Indo-Chinese make some equally bad remarks against the officer. This tit-for-tat racial issue must stop, and must stop now. People who speak in this manner, they speak only for themselves. They do not speak for their entire race. We must remember that, first of all. They speak only for themselves. There are always bigots and those who will discriminate in every country. So those, let them be, but the rest of us cannot live like that. We must stop this constant hate and fear of each other. This is how the PNM friends and financiers maintain control. They create chronic fear against each other, and they manipulate and dehumanize everyone. Everyone. I put my hand up to you tonight. I say, if you cut my hand, it is the same red blood flowing in your veins that flows in mine. It's the same. It is the same. The things that make me cry are the same things that make you cry. The things that make us happy, make me happy, they make you happy too. Not true. Because there is only one race, and that is the human race. And so we must learn. We must learn to love and forgive each other. You know, they don't teach us real history in our schools, you know. They don't. When I went to high school, which is many moons ago, they were teaching us about who was fighting who for which country. So the British was fighting the French and the Dutch and the English, and they were fighting, and then they get Tobago and they take it from the Dutch, and the Spanish capture Trinidad, and then they fight the Spanish. That's what we learned, something called British West Indian history, which does nothing to advance us or to take us forward. And they're still teaching history in our schools that doesn't tell us really who we are, where we came from, and how great we are. No, they teach us instead. Those who will want to maintain control, the friends and financiers of the PNM, and listen to me, they are not of one race. Don't get me wrong. The elitists who are the friends and financiers of the PNM, they belong to every race. They come from every grouping. But their job is to keep you down and to keep me down and keep two of us fighting each other. That's their job. Because that is how they maintain control. And so I want to give you a little bit of history. That is true and real history for us to understand the positions we are in today. We came out of India, out of Africa, under different circumstances, but we are all in the same boat now, sink or float, we are all in it. And so, when the Indo-Chinese came, our forefathers came out of India, and our forefathers came out of Africa, and later out of China and Syria and Libya and so on, Lebanon. When indentureship ended, those who came from India were given an option. I will give you a piece of land so you will stay, or go back. Many of those Indo-Chinese took the land. On the other hand, when slavery ended, Afro-Chinese was never given a piece of land. True or not true? True, the truth hurts, you know. There'll be many people upset with me saying this tonight, but I do not care. I think we need to understand our history, so together we can go forward. We have to understand it. And so Afro-Chinese were not given any land. The powers of the day then needed cheap labor for their businesses and their factories and so on. Had they given the freed African slaves land, they would not have had this cheap labor. Understand it? What they did then, they refused to provide lands for free slaves, forcing the freed slaves and their descendants into low-paying jobs, and their businesses were just as bad as slavery in those days. Freed slaves, having nowhere to live, no property, were forced by the powers that be into poor rented living accommodation around their businesses and manufacturing areas. These living areas, often owned by the said business owners, were purposely run down into what they call slums. They kept them in and around the urban centers like Port of Spain, San Fernando, and so on. So the Indo-Trinese and their descendants got their piece of land. Well, look, first of all, they gave them some bad land. The famous Rasta man in the parliament. He says these Indo-Trinese live in the murky lagoon. Yes, they gave them the swamplands. They planted. And then as they had children, they divided a piece of land. So now it ended up again with no land. Again, for young Indos, as none for young Afros. True or not true? And this is what I recognize. For 200 years of discrimination faced in this country by all of us, that has been used to encourage racism and division, discrimination. They placed the freed slaves into slums. That was deliberate, to keep them in a kind of forced type of slavery to provide cheap labor. And so you have the vicious cycle. Low wages, poor living conditions, no property ownership rights. Now you see me, I didn't get no piece of land from no great-great-grandfather. I wasn't so lucky. But I know some who did from the old Indo-Indented who passed it down. I didn't get it. Okay? And I know what it is not to have a home. I know what it is to move from house to house, renting. When month end come, you can't pay rent. Small children, we were growing up. I shared that with you. And that is why I knew it and I felt it. And I know what many people are feeling today because I felt it too. And that is why when we were in government, I concentrated on programs to give hands up to people. That's what I did. That's what I did. Because I know that everyone, one of the most cherished things you could ever have is a home, a place to call home. I saw in a newspaper recently a young man who was awarded as a hero is now saying he has nowhere to live, he has nothing to do. Just recently in the newspaper, yes, you saw it? Nowhere, a home is so important for families. So what we now have, large numbers of people, especially young ones, cannot afford land, cannot afford property, and they're trapped in vicious cycles of rentals and low wages. True or not true? And where are you getting job to even pay rent? I'm not saying that you must use this as a reason to commit crime, but we have to understand the social problems and deal with it. And that is why, until as a country we face these realities and relevant truths, we will not be able to move forward. We must face the reality. The Indo-Trini must acknowledge that the Afro-Trini was wronged by these acts. We must understand that. And it is also difficult for many Indo-Trinis to get land and ownership now. It is a more difficult task because of historical discrimination. Understand that. And don't take it as something to tote on your shoulder and tote feelings all over the world. It means you have to unite, you have to get together, you have to join, and you have to work to remove the discrimination. We must remove it. I recognized this problem many years ago. I'll tell you a little story. I hope I don't overtake time here tonight. I went off to London to study. Okay? I was a student up there. You see, some of us live in Trinidad, never go anywhere else. So when I was there, I was 16 years old, mums. 16 years old walking down the street, right? And a very frail old English lady, she stumbled on the pavement. And I grabbed to hold her because she was going to fall. You know, that woman recoiled on me in terror and horror. And I say, you know what? If you're not white, you're black. That is what you learn, that all of us are people of color. All of us are people of color. And we have to chart a way forward together. I mean no disrespect to the chairman of our Women's Arm. Everyone has a space and place at the UNC table, Dr. Catherine Alley. No disrespect. But it doesn't know who you are, what you are, and what you stand for. And in that way, you can join arm to arm, when we go out. Raise your hand with me. Raise your hand with me. Raise your hand. And tonight I pledge to you here that together we will lead an army to rescue Trinidad and Tobago from this wicked government. Together we can do it. We can do it. We can do it. So, I said I recognize this problem. The UNC has always led the charge for land and home ownership. My colleague, Dr. Uari, calls it, we always stood for home ownership democracy and land ownership democracy. And that is why they say Kamla encouraging squatting and lawlessness. I'm not talking about that at all. I want you to remember, when we were in government, we did not break down a single person's house. Home, we did not. I see this wicked government. They have not built a single house since they came into government. But they're breaking down homes in Valencia. I saw them break down homes in Palo Seco recently, and other places. They know how to break, but they do not know how to build. I'm not saying go and squat, but I was part of the team which passed a very, very, very revolutionary law in this country, led by a visionary human being. His name is John Humphrey. You all remember him? An independent government, together with John Humphrey, myself, and some others, we passed the law for something known as quota regularization. You all remember that? I know how hard it is to get a home. So we said all those who had been on lands up to a certain date, you could apply for something called a certificate of comfort. And thousands applied. Jairam C. Mangal was the Minister of Lands and so on, was processing many of those applications. Because you see, all the lands belong to the Crown. And the Crown was Her Majesty the Queen in England. And those Crown lands passed to the state when we became a republic. But that land doesn't belong to the government. That land belongs to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And we must find a way. We must find a way to make that land available. And that's what we started doing. Geraldine was part of that process when we were in government in the last 5 years. Many of you will remember that is why we introduced something called Land for the Landless.
On Tuesday, May 6, 2014, the very first distribution of lots of land under the Land for the Landless Residential Lots program was held following the first draw. Many recipients were moved to tears and became quite emotional as they expressed their sentiments on what owning their own piece of land means to them and to their families.
My name is Wesley Trumpets, one of the successful applicants who actually got called. First of all, I have to say thanks for this opportunity where I was given this chance to actually be my own or a landowner. To be actually chosen for this was really different because about 5 years ago I was involved in an accident and it left me permanently disabled. And as such, I was wondering if I could have been one to support or be a landowner. However, given this opportunity, I have the chance to do such a thing. I'm a single parent. And the whole idea of being able to show my son that I can build and give is just the whole, just maybe the arbor of love. And with this now I saw the whole concept, the whole view that I can actually now have my dreams come true. And I be actually a house and landowner. Thank you.
Good day. My name is Lydia Tama Panton. I'm from Kunipia, and I was one of the chosen one for the landless. We get a call to go and do the interview. I'm going to do the interview, and they carry us to see the land. And we were so happy about it, and my children was real joy. They just can't believe they're going to get their own house soon, and they're so happy about it. I want to thank the Lord for everything He has done for me and my family. I want to thank the government and LSA for the support, and I wish they keep on going more and more so more people could achieve and to get the blessing like me.
My name is Alisa Victory. I live at Montrose, Chabonas. I saw the ad for the land for the landless on the papers. I filled out a form and I dropped it in. I got a call from the land for the landless, and I was like, is this real? I can't believe it. And they called me in, I went and I took an interview, and they took me to where my location was, and I was like, this is a blessing. This was really, really happening. You know, and I am very thankful. Well, I work at Titico's, Chabonas, and I am renting right now, and the rent is very costly, and I have 3 kids, and hearing about this, when I got this call, I was like, wow, you know, it's like, you can't explain, words can't explain how I feel, but I'm really, really happy. First of all, I'd like to thank the Master above, and just want to thank the government for implementing this program, and to LSA for their support and everything.
They say a neighbor's ring buried down in the earth there, that piece of land. Everyone wants a piece of land for their home. We started the land for the landless. You know, they shut that down too. They shut that down. We continued with the squatter regularization. We increased grants for home repairs and construction. We gave out the certificates of comfort. We developed roads, drainage, and utilities in many poor areas and in squatting areas. And I offered, Jillian, you remember this? Jillian did an audit for me, and we looked at it, that those HTC buildings, houses, and so on, that were above 30 years. Where people have been occupying it for over 30 years, we would sell it to them for $1. Now that's a pledge. That's the pledge I made. That's the pledge we made in 2015. Of course, the Horquetta Talparo decided they would go elsewhere. That is your democratic right. But this time, don't get fooled by the racist propaganda of the PNM. That is why I'm explaining this to you. I understand your needs. I was in your position. And you know what helped me? That I could stand and talk to you today like this? Education. I started with education. I didn't inherit wealth. I didn't inherit land. In fact, the only thing I inherited from my parents is my kindness. My kindness. And I think my smile. Maybe sometimes I look like my mother, sometimes like the father. I don't know. So don't look at me and feel I am one of the entitled. Don't feel Kamla is entitled, so she have big house and big land and big car and whatever, and she could come here and talk dung at us. I'm not talking dung to you. I am talking to give you a hand up. I want to lift you up. Lift you up. You know, I think a government must have a responsibility to make land and home ownership affordable to the majority of people, especially given our history that I've just related to you, of how we were uprooted from other places and brought here. The only way to reduce the crime rate is to build our economy, to have a society where the wealth, the prosperity, the property ownership is distributed to all of the population and not just to a select few. That's the only way. I promise you, I pledge tonight. When you put us back in government, we will reintroduce all these land and home owning programs and incentives, so we could make right what went wrong in our history. Until all of us see each other as brothers and sisters, We must not see each other as competitors or enemies. Until we do that, we will not move forward. The status quo will remain, and one small group of persons will possess the majority of the nation's wealth. And they create this false race bogey that the UNC is anti-African and paints the UNC as a threat to the survival and prosperity of Afro-Trini. They have started that narrative. They see elections are coming. You see it in the writings of their paid columnists and their trolls on the social media. You see it on their political platforms and the songs they promote. They have no achievements. 4 years into office, they have not a single achievement. They cannot point to a school or a house that they have built. So what do? They go back to basics, what they think. They go back to race baiting. And so you can't put race in your pocket and go in the grocery to buy food, you know. Remember that, you know. You cannot put race inside the fridge. You can't put race in your children's school book bags. You have to put books. You have to put laptops. But they have gone back to the one thing they think. They think. But seeing you all here tonight, I know they are wrong. They are wrong. They are wrong. And then Friday in Parliament, we are in Parliament. You know, there's a fellow who likes to think of himself as the all-purpose minister. Youngly. This man is minister of everything and minister of nothing. Abject failure as a national security minister. He stands in the parliament to do what? Playing the race card in the parliament. Why? To try to disguise his total incompetence as a national security minister. You see the race baiting when Mr. Rowley mounts the platform. You see it with their hired guns in state enterprises, race baiting. These friends and financiers of the PNM have no care for any poor people in this country. No matter what your race is, no matter what your religion is, they don't care. They do not care. This government is the most oppressive government of the poor in the history of our country. So tonight, PNM friends and financiers want to push racism, so let's talk about race today. You see, they have to create an enemy. They have not performed. So they race bait to create the enemy. The enemy is not your neighbor. The enemy is that group of people, the powerful. I want to quote something for you and listen carefully, very carefully. The powerful do not usually do the dirtiest work themselves, just as mafia dons leave the workings to underlings. Systems creates hierarchies of dominance, with influence and communication going down, really going upline. When a power elite wants to destroy an enemy nation, it turns to propaganda experts to fashion a program of hate. What does it take for citizens of one society to hate citizens of another, to the degree that they want to segregate them, torment them, even kill them? It requires a hostile imagination, a psychological construction embedded deeply in their minds by propaganda that transform the others into the enemy. The enemy. You create an enemy. And then, the image is a soldier's most important, powerful motive. One that loads his rifle with ammunition of hate and fear. The image of a dreaded enemy threatening one's personal well-being and the society's national security emboldens mothers and fathers to send sons to war and empowers governments to rearrange priorities to turn plowshares into swords of destruction. This is all done with words and images. To modify an old saying, sticks and stones may break your bones, but names can sometimes kill you. The process begins with creating a stereotype. That's what they do. There's a stereotype of who we are and of what we are and what we stand for. You create a stereotype. You dehumanize perceptions of the other. You put the other as worthless, the other as all-powerful, the other as demonic, The other is an abstract monster. The other is a fundamental threat to church values and beliefs. That is what has been going on in our country. And so with public fear ranked up and the enemy threat imminent, reasonable people act irrationally. Independent people act in mindless conformity, and peaceful people act as warriors. I share this with you tonight because this is what the Rowley P&M has been doing and is continuing to do, and do not let us get fooled by it again. So demonize, you create the enemy. Create the enemy. But there is only one political enemy in this battle. And that political enemy is the wicked Rowley government. We must move them out. This is what the friends and financiers of the Rowley P&M have done to keep their elite status. And I want to make it very clear. Through sheer stereotyping, that's what they do, to stereotype you. So every one of you is this, and every one of you is that. Every Tobagoan is X. Every Trini is not Tobagonian. Every Tobagoan is not Trini. Choose, pick out, make an enemy. Carlene is the enemy. Nicholas is the enemy. David, where are you? Young David who came up by tomorrow, they might make him an enemy too. And all of you step up. Just band together, stay together, and nothing can stop you. Nothing will stop you. Nothing. So what is happening in our country has been happening for over 200 years. Are you fed up? You have to be fed up. We have to undo this. A small group, I repeat, a small group comprised of all ethnicities. Arnold Roberts understands that. Arnold have every ethnicity in him. Welcome, Arnold. Give him a round of applause. Happy to see you. So they make enemies. So one is Afro-Trini descendant, Indo-Trini descendant. Well, sorry for poor Arnold boy. You get leave out coal. Because you mix up with everybody. A true Trini to the bone. And so you have this small group comprised of all ethnicities. So before anybody gets vexed with me, let me make it clear. It is not a race, not one set of people. They come from every race, but they make up that powerful friends and financiers of the P&M. So don't be fooled thinking there's one type of people. All ethnicities are in that group. And so I want to give you one example how they use their propaganda to divide us. And Julian on the hospital was dead on point. On the second question that the Alsing keeps asking. So we've answered him on the one, he just had to open the hospital. As Julian put it, Terrence opened the damn hospital, opened the Couva Children's Hospital, give our children the chance they deserve, the health care they need. And they have changed the name of that hospital too, So we had called it the Couva Children's Hospital. They want to leave out the word children, and they want to call it what? Couva Hospital. Well, look, a Rose by any other name, a hospital by any other name is a hospital. What you have to do is open the hospital. Open it now. So one example before I move on. One example. The Couva Children's Hospital. So what they talk, when Terence asks that question every week in Parliament, is one thing he's doing, That second question is, so why you all built Couva Hospital and you didn't build the Port of Spain block? You know what's happening there? Do you understand? That is race baiting again. They're saying our motive for building it in Couva is because UNC people live there. But they're wrong. The people who will access Couva will come from all over the island and outside of the island as well. They're wrong. It is a state-of-the-art facility for children and women. The equipment in there you wouldn't find anywhere else. I think we have one of the MRI machines is one of its kind in the Western Hemisphere, one of 3 in the Western Hemisphere, no, not in Trinidad, in the whole of this Western Hemisphere. Why are you denying people? And so Jillian explained, they use that race baiting. But they forget to tell you that we also built the Diego Martin Health Facility in Carnage, a state-of-the-art, it's not even like a small hospital. They wouldn't tell you that we also built the El Dorado Nursing Academy to train the nurses for the hospital. Jillian mentioned we built the San Fernando Teaching Hospital. We began work on the Arima and the Point 14, and Jillian gave you the answer. The answer was these outlying ones where you had none at all, that these would take up patients, ease the load coming into Port of Spain and Mount Hope. Yes? And therefore we could decant some of Mount Hope for the Port of Spain whilst we build it. And I want to tell you something. Jillian gave you all the details tonight. Maybe she didn't have much time. In 2014, not 15, we signed an MOU, government to government, Trinidad and Tobago, with the United Kingdom to build an integrated medical facility in Port of Spain. Not this one central block. It was an integrated 730-bed health facility. It was an entire complex for training, specialist treatments, yes? And as many beds as you would need. But you don't start in this center. You have to move, you know, a good general knows. You have to make the plans to make it happen. So what's going to happen now? When they came into office out of spite, malice, and ill will, they refused to open the Kufa Hospital. They stopped all the UNC projects. Now they're boasting they're going and finish building where? Arima and Point 14. Listen, those are UNC projects. They have not a project. If they were not so spiteful and malicious, they should have continued the building of Arima and Point 14. By now, those would have been finished. If we were still in office, we would have finished it since last year. It would have been completed, but they put everything on hold, and now when they realize, wait now, we didn't dig a post hole, as you say. We didn't put up one brick. They now want to say, come to Parliament last week or week before, they go in and build Point 14 and Arima. Well, I am taking blame for Point 14 and Arima as projects to be completed. And the second example I'll give you how they use the race baiting to divide us is that UWI South Campus. Again, they have refused to open because the thing South only have descendants of Indo-Trinis. They have not seen the whole of the South, stretching in the east where the sun rises, from Mayaro coming across the whole South, down to the Southwest Peninsula, down in Cedros and Point 14. That is the whole South band. And our plan in building, they say, well, why they build that thing down Davie, yeah? Why they building that down Davie? First they say some kind of academic isolation. Well, I never hear things like that in my life. Most university campuses are isolated and green and huge, so you could think and grow and your brain could develop. Now they say nothing about that campus again, like they just completely forgot about it. But they say, why we built campus in Davie? The reason we did that is the land was there, one, Old Caroni lands. And two, where that is located is a confluence where a lot of roads join. So the Mayaro highway that we were building, highway from Mayaro will come right up to join there on Davie Junction. The Point 14 going the other way, right there on the Davie Junction. Coming down from Central, right there from the North-South Highway, right there. So the whole South and Central could have been serviced. And don't tell me their constituencies were all included in that plan. Point 14, La Brea, San Fernando East, San Fernando West, for us there down in Mayaro, Siparia, Naparima, Faizabad, coming up this way, Point Apia, all these. And the plan was, that's why that venue was chosen, availability of land and all roads meeting there. But the second part of this plan and rationale was that we wanted to free up 3,000 spaces at the university in St. Augustine, so that you here along the corridor and Port of Spain would go to St. Augustine, while the South and Central people would go where? Down in the South Campus. Making sense? Must make sense. Must make sense. And the second thing was the transport costs. Something people come from Mayara and Point 14, all these far other places, have to come up to St. Augustine, have to pay these high rents to live there. Safety issues and so on. That's what it was. I want to tell you, I am very proud that the government I led, we increased tertiary, which is university education, the number of people participating. We increased it over our own target. We had targeted a certain percentage, and we went above that, 65% tertiary sector education. And if we had opened that campus, we would have gone near to 100%. And you see you all here, along this corridor, and tonight I want to launch a movement together with my sister Jerlyn. We'll do it in a minute, but we will launch a movement here tonight. And La Horquetta, Talparo will be the first in line as we join hands. So I'm saying how they use race in a very, very, very skillful way. And look, I had 63 projects here I was going to read for you tonight, but time is upon me. You know, projects that we have done. And I want to close by saying this. Forget these small band of people who want to keep us all down. They don't teach us our history. I say they don't want you to be self-sustaining. And they want you to know the truth about your ancestors and mine and all of us. The truth is, we did not come from slaves and indentures. That is an experience some of our forefathers went through. But we are descendants of great ancestors. From great kingdoms in Africa. Do they teach us that? No. From great kingdoms in India and China. And even those who came later from the Middle East, from Syria and Lebanon, they came too. Poor people and worked very hard. They were fleeing discrimination in their own country. Those who came from Syria and Lebanon. Those who came from China, some of them came as indentures too. So we are like a unique place of diversity. With all of us having a role to play, we are all descended from great civilizations. And that history, their history, has been erased from our records by the colonial powers. So that is why Eric Williams was a great man, because he started to write some of our history and not the European history. Our history and the history of our forefathers. So when they want to put you down, stand up and tell them, you see, my ancestors, bro, my ancestors, dread my ancestors, we have come from great civilizations, and it means we can go into the future and be a great civilization ourselves. Great one. So now is the time for all of us to stand up, step up, join us, and work to get Trinidad and Tobago working again. I will just show you this video because I have 63 things I was going to tell you tonight of work done here, but let's watch the video, please.
We stand united in the belief that if you empower a community, the community empowers the country.
We are the party that gave every child a secondary school education since 2001.
By building more schools in 11 years than others did in 40. We believe that no child,
rich or poor, should be left behind.
Which is why we give every Form 1 student a laptop to expand their minds and their dreams.
We are the party that put police cars back on the streets
and gave the police a $1,000 bonus because we believe that we should support the persons who are protecting you.
We are the party that reduced the murder rate to its lowest in 14 years. We expanded GATE, stopped the property tax, and increased maternity leave.
We are the party that invested in you and in your community by investing in schools, community centers, lighted parks, 24-hour health centers, and the most extensive road repair program in decades.
We believe that education is always the solution and that no one should have to pick between sending their child to school or buying food.
We are the party that works for you. We are the first responders in every situation, working to deliver a better standard of living for you and your family.
And most importantly, we have confidence in you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. This is not a campaign, it's a movement based on building communities and strengthening families.
Come out and join us, and together we will get the nation working and moving again. Our children will once again have access to gate and technology.
We will improve healthcare
By cutting the time it takes to see a doctor in an emergency. We will establish a senior citizen unit in every major hospital and staff the hospital with the doctors and nurses you need to create a first-class healthcare system. We will focus on creating high-paying jobs, fixing our laws to remove red tape, and ensuring that you and your family are safer. We will reduce corporate taxes to jumpstart the economy, create a special investment zone along the East-West corridor, and work with entrepreneurs to build a digital economy. This is an investment in your community to move the nation forward and get TNT working again.
Whether you are from 4th Street in Barataria to Railway Road in Dow Village, from Green Street in Tunapuna to Clark Road in Debe, from La Horquetta to Moruga, from Mayaro to Scarborough, we are one people with the same dreams of a better tomorrow. And when we stand together, we win together. We are UNC and proud.
Some of our plans are in there. And Senator Anita said something tonight which I think is very important. Showing this to you and reminding you of some of the things we did shows that we have a track record of delivery. These are just some of the things. So when we say we will do something, we mean it, we will do it. And therefore tonight, as I close, as I say, I want to launch a movement. And I'll ask Jillian to join me, and all of us, if you can join us, as someone takes this podium from here. So tonight, we begin here on the corridor, our first meeting for 2019. 1 minute, please. First meeting for 2019, or first Monday Night Forum. And I'm saying, calling upon you to stand up, step up, join us, and let us get working TNT again. We have open nominations, you are free. I need you to come forward. You must have a voice at the decision-making table. So all those who are interested, please put in your nominations. You need a place at the leadership table as well, and to be in decision-making. Don't let others do it for you. So in your own communities, you select those you would like to see represent you in the upcoming local elections, okay? And we go forward together. So the movement tonight is one corridor. I have shared plans before and some tonight of what we will do to create jobs along the corridor. And therefore, we will have the movement, the one corridor movement, and my coordinator, Jillian John, is in charge of that. So I'm sure we will succeed. Tonight, I want to share with you part of my plan for job creation, because we want to get TNT working again. Lack of jobs is a major problem on the East-West corridor. Before 1995, the East-West corridor in Port of Spain became the manufacturing and industrial center of Trinidad. Manufacturing and industrial companies lined the corridor from Arima to Port of Spain. Do you all remember those days? We plan to designate the East-West corridor as a special growth pole. There is a highly educated and skilled workforce in place. They just need jobs. Some of the industries we can target are as follows: food processing and packaging, manufacture of basic medical supplies and disposables, manufacture of medical furniture, beds, trolleys, chairs. We can do these things. We do not have to import them.
We can look to a foundry for precision casting of primary component parts for use in secondary assembly industries. We can get into glasswork for manufacture of paints, household glassware, optical lens, component parts for secondary assembly industries. Manufacture of simple household equipment, electronic assembly, e-waste recycling. And this is disassembling computers, printers, etc. to get back the reusables. We have mountains of e-waste that is just waste and cannot really be as biodegradable. We can recycle these, take out the good parts and use them. How can we do it? You know how? The first thing we would do is to lower taxes. Do you know the United States has a corporate tax rate of 22%? What is ours? 30 and 35%. We exempt property taxes for these businesses that are starting up, the new ones that will be creating the jobs. We increase customs duties on imported products that we want to manufacture, yes? We will then look to a tax write-off on capital expenditure and investments in plant, in machinery, in building. Government will back financing. Government will back finances for local companies wishing to establish these manufacturing industries on the East-West corridor to create the jobs.